March 14th, 2018, Rio de Janeiro. The air is heavy and warm. Under the city's orange streetlights, life moves as usual, loud, bright, and restless. But that night, Rio witnessed one of the darkest moments in its history. A woman, the voice of her people, a symbol of justice, was silenced by a hail of bullets. Her name was Marielle Franco. From the dusty alleys of the favelas, she rose to the top of Brazilian politics. A black woman, born in poverty, who dared to fight the system that crushed so many before her. Marielle was born on July 27, 1979, in the Marais favela of Rio de Janeiro, a place forgotten by the state, where gunshots were more common than sirens, and police often worked side by side with the criminals they claimed to fight. That's where she grew up. She saw inequality not in books, but outside her window. She watched neighbors die in police raids. She saw mothers cry for sons who never came home. And she made herself a promise. One day, I'll stand up to this system. I'll make their voices heard. She made her way into college, a rare victory for a girl from Marais. She studied sociology. Her research focused on human rights, violence in favelas, and the abuse of police power. By the early 2000s, a new kind of criminal force had taken root in Brazil: the militias. These weren't ordinary gangs. They were made up of former and current police officers, armed, organized, and ruthless. They claimed to protect the favelas, but in truth, they ruled them through fear, charging fees for safety, controlling who lived and who died. Marielle began to expose them. She entered politics, not to climb, but to confront. In 2016, she was elected to the Rio de Janeiro City Council. She won more than 46,000 votes, becoming one of the most voted-for women in the city's history. Her mission was clear: to end police brutality in poor communities, defend women's rights, and demand reform in Brazil's violent justice system. She spoke about what others were afraid to even mention. She denounced the police raids in the favelas, where innocent people, often children, were being killed. She said, "They call it a war on crime, but who are they really killing?" She refused to be silent, and that made her dangerous, not to the people, but to those who thrived in the shadows of power. As her influence grew, so did the threats. Anonymous calls, messages telling her to stop. But she didn't. One of her closest friends once said, "The day Marielle becomes afraid, Brazil will have lost all hope." March 14th, 2018. Marielle attended an event called Black Women Changing Power. It was held in a small cultural center downtown. She gave a passionate speech about hope, courage, and equality. Her last words on stage were, "Our voices have been silenced for too long. Now we will not be quiet." The crowd rose to their feet. They didn't know it would be the last time they'd see her alive. Around 9 p.m., Marielle left the venue. She got into her silver car with her driver, Anderson Gomez, and her assistant, Fernanda Chavez. They drove through the narrow city streets. The night seemed calm. But behind them, a dark Chevrolet Cobalt began to follow. The men inside knew exactly what they were doing. Later, investigators would find out that the nearby street cameras had mysteriously stopped working that night. At 9:30 p.m., Marielle's car slowed at a turn. The other vehicle pulled up beside them. A brief silence. Then, gunfire. 9 bullets. 4 struck Marielle in the head and neck. Anderson was hit and died instantly. Only Fernanda survived. She opened the car door and ran, her hands covered in her friend's blood. When the police arrived, it was over. No fingerprints, no trace. But one thing stood out. The bullets came from police-issued 9mm ammunition, the same batch that had gone missing from a Sao Paulo police armory in 2006. Coincidence? No one believed that. From the very beginning, this was no random act. It was a message, a political assassination, carefully planned and brutally executed. Within days, her face was everywhere. Murals appeared overnight. Crowds filled the streets shouting, "Kim matou Marielle?" Who killed Marielle? Protests erupted in Rio, Sao Paulo, Salvador. The world joined in. The United Nations, Amnesty International, and human rights groups demanded an open investigation. But inside Brazil, silence ruled. Evidence disappeared. Witnesses withdrew. The system, the same one Marielle had fought against, was closing in to protect itself. Months passed. Still no arrests, no answers. Only fear. For many, it felt like justice had already been buried, next to Marielle. But history wasn't done with her yet. Because this was not the end. It was only the beginning. March 2018. The streets of Brazil were filled with grief and anger. After the murder of Marielle Franco and her driver, the nation's heart trembled. Millions of people asked the same question: who killed Marielle? But the answer remained hidden for years. From the very beginning, the investigation was clouded with suspicion. City surveillance cameras stopped working that night. Car license plates erased. The bullets traced back to a batch owned by the police. Yet no one was held accountable. For months, it seemed the case had gone cold. Witnesses stayed silent, afraid for their lives. Some police officers even lost crucial evidence. The same system Marielle had fought against her whole life was now blocking justice for her death. But the people did not stay silent. In the streets of Rio, thousands chanted her name every single day. We won't stop until justice is done. The movement spread across the country. In March 2019, 1 year later, a shocking development came. Police arrested 2 suspects, both former police officers. The first, Rony Lessa, a retired Special Forces sniper. He was accused of firing the shots that killed Marielle. The second, Elcio Vieira de Queiroz, his close friend and the driver of the car that night. During the investigation, new facts emerged. The weapon used? A military-grade HK MP5 submachine gun. Officially, it had been lost from the police arsenal. This was no act of revenge. This was a planned political assassination. The car used in the killing had been prepared in advance. Its color changed, plates replaced. The murder was professional, calculated. Yet one question remained. Who gave the order? Who wanted to silence Marielle's voice? Investigators and journalists explored several leads. In her final months, Marielle had been exposing militia groups in Rio and the politicians protecting them. She was gathering evidence on their illegal businesses, their land grabs, and ties to corrupt police units.
Her death wasn't just revenge. It was a message, a warning to anyone who dared to challenge the system. Those who resist will meet her fate. By 2020, new information surfaced. The investigation reached the offices of former governors and powerful politicians, but evidence was still scarce. Witnesses vanished. Several police officers died under mysterious circumstances. It was as if everyone who touched the case disappeared. Yet Marielle's name lived on. She became a symbol across the world. Paris, London, New York, Tokyo. Murals and posters carried her image. Marielle Presente, or Marielle is present. Her name became the echo of justice. In 2023, 5 years after the murder, the case was reopened. New evidence emerged. Brazil's federal police confirmed what many had long suspected. Marielle's death had been a political hit job. The order came from a powerful figure, a businessman and former congressman named Domingos Braga. He feared Marielle's investigations into illegal property schemes in Rio's favelas. By 2024, prosecutors officially charged 4 men: Rony Lessa, the shooter; Elcio de Queiroz, the driver; Domingos Braga, the mastermind; and one unnamed senior official whose identity remains sealed. When the trial began, the entire country watched once again. This wasn't just about one woman. It was about the honor of a nation. Marielle's partner, friends, and family took the stand. Her mother spoke through tears. "I can't bring my daughter back, but we can still bring back justice." In spring 2025, the verdict was announced. Rony Lessa and Elcio de Queiroz sentenced to life in prison. Braga's trial still ongoing. After 7 long years, justice for Marielle Franco had finally begun to take shape. But this story was never just about one person. It was the voice of a people who refused to be silenced. Marielle was killed, but her ideas never died. She became hope for a new generation, a symbol of courage for every woman and man who dares to fight for truth. Today, her murals still shine on Rio's walls. Children speak her name with respect in schools. And on every street corner, one phrase still echoes: Marielle Presente, or Marielle is alive. The story of Marielle Franco is the eternal struggle for justice. It is not only Brazil's story, but a lesson for the whole world. You cannot kill the truth.